There's something profound about the quiet mind that never stops moving. If you've ever felt like your thoughts are a constant river flowing beneath the surface while the world sees only calm waters, you understand what it means to be a quiet overthinker. Your mind never stops, saying everything at once, analyzing every conversation, predicting every outcome, noticing details others miss entirely. This isn't just a personality quirk or a simple case of being thoughtful. What you're experiencing runs much deeper. You see, quiet overthinkers aren't passive observers of life. You're hyper-aware nervous systems disguised as calm people, carrying an invisible weight that few truly understand. Your silence became your refuge long ago, and thinking became your shield against a world that felt unpredictable or unsafe. The truth is, Arian, you overthink because at some point in your journey, thinking was safer than feeling. Maybe no one asked how you felt when you were younger, so you learned to analyze instead. Perhaps expressing your needs led to disappointment or conflict, so you learned to anticipate and prevent problems before they arose. This hypervigilance, this constant scanning mode your nervous system adopted, was once your protection. But the same mind that learned to protect you is the one exhausting you now. From a neuroscientific perspective, what's happening in your brain is fascinating yet challenging. Your default mode network, the neural network that's active when your mind is at rest, stays overactive. While others can simply be present, your brain continues processing, connecting dots and running scenarios. This archetype often forms through emotional neglect, not necessarily the dramatic kind we see in movies, but the subtle absence of emotional attunement and validation during crucial developmental years. Many quiet overthinkers were also parentified, taking on emotional responsibilities beyond their years. You learn to read the room, manage others' emotions, and become the steady, reliable presence everyone could count on. Attachment-wise, this often results in avoidant or anxious avoidant patterns. You crave deep connection, yet fear the vulnerability that comes with being truly seen. You've mastered the art of being close enough to care, but distant enough to stay safe. There's a particular grief that quiet overthinkers carry, one that's rarely acknowledged. It's the grief of lost authenticity, of spontaneity that was edited out, of rest that became impossible, of ease that transformed into constant vigilance. You learned to be acceptable before you learned to be authentic. Every interaction became filtered through the question of how others might react, what they might think, whether you were being too much or not enough. The emotions you couldn't express didn't disappear. They turned inward, creating those mental loops you know so well. The self-doubt that whispers, "You're not doing enough." The chronic tension that lives in your shoulders. The exhaustion that comes not from what you do, but from what you think about doing. Carl Jung warned that what is not brought into consciousness returns as fate. And for quiet overthinkers, unexpressed emotions return as endless mental chatter. Look at how this shows up in your daily life. You overanalyze text messages, reading between the lines that might not even exist. You hesitate to speak up at work, not because you lack ideas, but because you've already imagined 17 ways your contribution could be misunderstood. You tie your self-worth to being low maintenance, to not needing too much, to being the person others can rely on without reciprocation. You don't fear silence. You fear what happens when you finally stop thinking. But here's what changes everything. These are not flaws. They are adaptations. Every pattern you've developed, every way you've learned to navigate the world, made perfect sense given what you experienced. Your overthinking, your hypervigilance, your careful way of moving through relationships, these were intelligent responses to your environment. The problem isn't that you developed these strategies. The problem is that survival strategies are not meant to be permanent personalities. Awareness is the first step toward unlearning what no longer serves you. When you recognize that your mind's constant activity was once protection, you can begin to offer it something it's rarely received: compassion. The path forward isn't about becoming louder or fundamentally different. It's about becoming softer with yourself, about creating the safety your nervous system has been seeking all along. Healing for quiet overthinkers involves several gentle but powerful approaches. Inner child work helps you connect with the part of you that learned to think instead of feel, offering that younger self the validation and emotional safety they needed. Shadow work allows you to reclaim the parts of yourself you'd learned to hide. The needs you were taught were too much. The emotions you were told were inconvenient. Nervous system regulation becomes crucial because your body has been in a state of subtle activation for so long. Learning to breathe deeply, to feel your feet on the ground, to notice when you're safe in the present moment rather than lost in future scenarios or past regrets. This isn't about positive thinking or forcing yourself to be different. It's about creating genuine safety from the inside out. The ancient philosopher Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and this speaks directly to the quiet overthinker's experience. So much of your pain exists in the space between what is and what you fear might be. But as you learn to distinguish between real threats and imagined ones, between past patterns and present possibilities, something beautiful begins to emerge. You start to trust your own voice again. You begin to feel your feelings without immediately analyzing them. You discover that your sensitivity, your depth, your careful way of seeing the world aren't burdens to overcome, but gifts to embrace. Your quiet mind becomes a place to live rather than a place to hide. The goal is not to be fixed, but to become whole. You are not broken. You never were. You are a person who learned to survive in the most intelligent way available to you. And now you're learning to thrive. Your overthinking mind, when given permission to rest, reveals itself as profoundly creative, deeply intuitive, and remarkably wise. You are not alone in this journey. You never were. There are countless others who understand the weight of carrying so much in silence, who know what it means to love deeply while protecting carefully, who recognize the exhaustion that comes from a mind that never truly rests. Your story matters, your healing matters, and your quiet strength has always been enough.